It was a regular Saturday afternoon. The sun was going down. I had just finished a quick errand at the convenience store. Nothing special had happened that day. Just boring everyday stuff. I wasn't in a hurry. But the second I stepped out of the store, something felt off, no idea why. It just felt like something was about to flip my whole day. A cop stood by the entrance. He leaned against the wall, watching cars and people like it was no big deal. At first I didn't think twice. Probably just his normal patrol. But when I walked past him, something made me glance up. Our eyes met, only for a second. Then he started walking toward me. I stopped right away, thinking he wanted to ask a routine question. "Excuse me, sir, let me see your ID." His voice was firm but not rude. I froze for a moment. I had no reason to be stopped. I hadn't done anything, still. I pulled out my wallet and handed him my ID without saying a thing. He looked it over fast, no emotion. I couldn't tell what he was searching for. After a few seconds, he looked up. His expression changed just a little. "How are you here if you're supposed to be in prison?" I just stood there like someone hit pause on me. Prison, that had to be a mistake. I had never been locked up, never even been arrested. I couldn't remember ever being in real trouble with the law. "What do you mean?" I asked. My voice shook a little. "I'm not in prison. There's got to be a mistake." "Don't lie to me," he said, sharper now. "Your ID says you're serving time. I need an explanation." My heart started pounding. I tried staying calm, but panic was creeping in. None of this made sense. I looked at my ID again. It looked normal. I had no record, no history, nothing that should link me to prison. "There's been a mistake," I said, my voice cracking. "You've got the wrong guy." The cop just stared. Then he turned around and walked toward his squad car. He motioned for me to follow. I hesitated. My body was pumped full of adrenaline. But arguing with a cop? Yeah, that wasn't gonna help. I followed him, hoping this whole mess would get cleared up fast. The ride to the station felt forever long. The officer barely said a word. He kept his eyes on the road. I sat in the back, trying to figure out what the hell was happening. Why would he think I was supposed to be in prison? I had never done anything. I kept replaying everything over and over, but nothing made sense. My ID was real. I had renewed it recently. I had a job, a normal life, bills to pay. How could any of this connect to prison? When we got to the station, he walked me inside. He didn't speak, just handed my ID to the desk sergeant. The sergeant looked at it, then at me. His face twisted like he was trying to solve a puzzle. "How did this happen?" he muttered. "This makes no sense." The air felt thick. Everyone looked confused. I heard them whisper something about mistaken identity. But why would my ID say I was locked up if it was just a mix-up? How could my name be tied to a criminal record I didn't even know about? I stood there silent, trying to catch up, but nothing clicked. Then the officer turned to me again. "I'm gonna run your ID again," he said, sounding a bit softer. "If it's a mistake, we'll fix it. But you need to be ready for questions. A lot of questions." I nodded. I tried to breathe, but something felt wrong. This didn't feel like a simple screw-up. It felt bigger, way bigger. The officer was gone for what felt like hours. I sat alone, trying to make sense of everything. How could I be linked to someone in prison? I had no criminal past. My brain was spinning and nothing was adding up. When he finally came back, he had a thick file in his hands. He dropped it on the table. The sound made my stomach twist. "According to this file," he said, "you were convicted of armed robbery 6 years ago." My whole body went cold. Armed robbery. No way. I had never done anything like that. I felt my hands shake. This had to be a nightmare. He handed me a printout. My name was on it. But everything else was wrong. The crime, the sentence, the details, none of it belonged to me. "That's not me," I said, barely able to breathe. "I've never committed a crime. This isn't my record." He looked at me like he didn't buy it. "The system says otherwise, and the system doesn't make mistakes." "You're wrong," I shot back. "You've got the wrong person. That's not my record." He stared at me hard, searching my face like I was hiding something. For a second, I hoped he'd change his mind, but he didn't. "I don't think you're telling the truth," he said. I tried explaining. I tried everything. But none of it mattered. The file said I was guilty, and the officer was starting to believe it. The room felt colder, the weight of it all pressed down on me. How could this even happen? How could I be tied to a crime I never committed? Every thought led to more questions. The officer just watched me, waiting for a confession. But I had nothing to confess. I hadn't done anything. This had to be a mistake, a huge one. The cop left me alone in the tiny interrogation room. Time dragged. I sat there trying to make sense of everything. My thoughts ran wild. None of this added up. How could someone have my name? My birthday, my hometown, it felt unreal. And the more I thought about it, the more questions stacked up. If someone had stolen my identity, how long had they been getting away with it? I stared at the wall, trying to slow my breathing. The room felt like it was shrinking. This was supposed to be a simple mix-up, something easy to fix. But the longer I sat in that cold room, the more it felt like this was way bigger than a small mistake. The cop said I had a criminal record. Armed robbery, 6 years in prison. But I had never even seen a jail cell. I needed answers, and fast, but nothing was coming. The door creaked open. The same officer stepped inside. He did not speak at first. He just handed me a thick folder, the same one from earlier. But now he opened it and spread everything out on the table. Photos, mugshots, court papers, booking sheets. I did not even need a close look to know the truth. None of it matched me. The guy in the pictures was someone else. Still, there was a creepy resemblance. "Take a look," the officer said quietly. "This is the guy we have been looking for. He was convicted of armed robbery 6 years ago. He has been serving time, but somehow, his identity is tied to yours." I stared at the photos. The man in the mugshot looked older. Rougher, a scar across his cheek. Hard eyes, but the jawline, the eyes. Something about him looked almost like me, like a twisted version. My stomach flipped. Someone had stolen my identity. Someone had taken my life and used it as their own. "Who is he?" I whispered. The officer's face hardened. "We do not know much. His real name is Alex Michaels, but the alias he uses is your name. His fingerprints match your records. He has been living as you for years." My breath caught. "How is that even possible?" "We do not know yet," he said. "The investigation is open. What we do know is that Alex Michaels escaped from prison. Then he took your identity and started using your name. Your records, everything. The system says you have been in prison for robbery. But it was him. He has been living your life." I felt numb, like my whole world cracked open. How did this happen? How had I not noticed anything? There had been no signs, nothing strange, nothing to warn me. But now it looked like my whole life had been hijacked. The next few days were a blur. The cops kept digging through my life. They questioned me nonstop. Childhood, family, friends. They wanted anything that proved I was the real person behind the name. But things kept getting messy. The more they looked into Alex Michaels' past, the more they learned how carefully he had erased his own. He had wiped out his history and replaced it with mine. It felt unreal, like staring at a reflection that was almost mine but not quite. Alex had been living my life, and now I had to prove I was myself. I kept wondering how far he had gone. How many people had met him thinking he was me? How many crimes did he commit using my name? Why did he pick me of all people? Every day felt like a nightmare. I sat with officers, trying to explain who I really was. But the paperwork said something else. The fingerprints said something else. The system acted like he was me, and I was him. The worst part was not knowing how he did it. Fake documents maybe, changed records. Maybe someone helped him. Every question led to another brick wall. The cops said they were trying to track him down. But it was not easy. Alex had vanished years ago. All they had were dusty clues and cold trails. He took off after getting out of prison. And now he could be anywhere. Another state, another country, living as me. I never thought my life would turn into something like this. I had always been a regular guy. Work, family, a few friends, nothing crazy. But now it felt like I had been dropped into a thriller movie, and someone had stolen the role that was supposed to be mine. The investigation kept going. I tried to piece together whatever I could. What had Alex done? How had he stolen my identity? What had he used it for? Weeks went by. The search grew more intense. The cops followed every lead, but Alex slipped through their fingers every time. He was like a ghost, no trail, no sound, nothing. And the cops started thinking he was using my identity for more than hiding. They thought he was doing crimes under my name, running credit scams, forging papers. Maybe worse, it freaked me out to think someone had lived as me. But it was even worse knowing he might have been dragging my name through more criminal stuff. I helped however I could. I gave them all my personal info. Everything. I even started digging into my own past, searching for anything weird that I might have missed. Something that showed he had been there before. I wanted my life back. I had to get it back. But the deeper I got, the more impossible it seemed. Alex had blended our lives so well that they almost looked the same. His life was tangled with mine. If I ever wanted to move on, I was going to have to fight hard. The more the cops uncovered about Alex, the scarier the truth became. He was not just a small-time crook. Not even close. His record was full of violent crimes, big ones, high-level robberies, stuff that made him dangerous to even talk about. But he had covered his tracks like a pro. He had wiped away anything that tied to his real identity. Then the cops found something worse. Alex had been connected to an underground criminal group, a serious one. They specialized in identity theft and organized crime. That meant Alex had not stolen my identity by accident. This was planned, purposeful. He had erased himself and stepped into my life as part of something bigger. I felt a chill run through me. A guy like Alex, with those connections and that record, had been living as me, using my life to stay hidden. The more I learned, the more dangerous he seemed, and the more I understood just how bad this whole situation was. He had taken everything, and now we had to find him. Weeks went by, then the cops finally caught a break. They found an old associate of Alex, some guy who had worked with him during past robberies. The man had done time with Alex. He was out now and willing to talk. The officer called me right away. A few hours later, we sat in a small interview room, waiting for this guy to show up. The air felt heavy, if he knew anything. This could crack the case wide open. The room was dead quiet. My heartbeat was loud enough to echo. I felt helpless, like the life I had built was slipping away a little more every day. Someone had stolen it, and now I was stuck in a world that never should have been mine. The door opened. A man walked in, cuffed to a chair. The harsh white lights made him look older. Maybe mid-50s, a rough face, hard eyes. His name was James Clark, but everyone called him Jimmy. He used to run with Alex. He did not look at me at first. The officer introduced him. He is the guy helping us figure out who Alex Michaels really is. He has info we need. Jimmy lifted his head and finally looked at me. His eyes moved over my face like he was trying to decide if I was fake or not. The silence dragged, my stomach twisted. Then he spoke. His voice sounded like gravel. "Yeah, I heard about you. You are the poor bastard he screwed over. The guy whose life got jacked by Alex." I could not even speak. I just nodded. My throat felt tight. Jimmy leaned back. "Look, kid, I am not here to make friends. I am here because you want Alex, and I can help you find him, but I do not do this for free. You get me out of here, and I give you what you need." The officer snapped. "You are not in any position to make demands, Clark." Jimmy shrugged. "Maybe, but I still got info. You want it, you play my way." Tension filled the room. Jimmy was a criminal, a liar, but he was the only lead we had. "What do you want?" I asked. Jimmy grinned. "Protection, a new start. You get me out of this place, and I tell you everything." The officer frowned. "You want witness protection after everything you did?" Jimmy did not back down. "Without me, you never catch Alex. The guy is a ghost. And your boy here," he nodded toward me, "stays screwed forever." The officer looked at me. He hated the idea, but we had no other choice. I took a long breath. "Fine, you give us the info. But once this is over, I will never see you again." Jimmy nodded like he already knew I would say that. "Fair enough, kid. You will not regret it." And just like that, I made a deal with someone I would never trust. But I had no choice. If I wanted my life back, I needed Jimmy's help. Jimmy talked. Some things he said were vague. Some things were huge, but piece by piece, Alex Michaels started to take shape. He was not just some petty thief. He had ties to dangerous people, real criminals, people who knew how to erase anyone in their way. "He is good at disappearing," Jimmy said. "He jumps from identity to identity. Guy does not even know who he is anymore." Every detail made my stomach twist. This was not just identity theft. This was a man who lived inside lies. A man who destroyed lives to survive. Weeks passed. We followed every clue Jimmy gave us. We found old spots where Alex had stayed. But every time we got close, he was gone. He moved like smoke. Then one day, Jimmy gave us something different. A location, an old warehouse outside the city. Quiet, empty, too perfect. "This is it," Jimmy said. "This is where you find him." We geared up. The cops formed a plan. It was time to take my life back. The warehouse was silent when we walked in. Our footsteps echoed on cold concrete. My skin crawled. This was the moment everything had been building toward. We reached the central room. Jimmy said Alex would be inside. I held my breath. Then we heard a loud crash. "Move," the lead officer yelled. The door flew open. The room was full of crates and old machines. And in the middle of it was a man. Alex Michaels. At first I barely knew it was him. He stood half hidden in shadow, his body tense, his eyes locked onto mine the second the door opened. Everything froze. Then chaos hit. Alex bolted behind a stack of crates. A second later, we heard a gun being loaded. "Do not move," the officer shouted. But Alex did not care. He jumped out, pointing a gun at the cops. "Get down," someone yelled. Bullets ripped through the room. I ducked, my heart slammed in my chest. Officers scrambled for cover. Alex moved like lightning. He was quick and cold. He knew every shadow. I should have run, but part of me refused to move. He had stolen my life. He had taken everything. I needed to face him. Something snapped inside me. I stepped forward. "Alex," I shouted, "it is over. You already took everything from me. Do not take more." Alex froze, his gun still pointed at the cops. His eyes flicked toward me. He stared at me like he was staring at his own reflection. "You think you can stop me?" he growled. "You think you got control? I have been living as you for years. I am you." His words hit me like ice. He believed it. He actually believed it. "You are nothing like me," I said. "You stole my name, but you will never be me." He laughed, a bitter, broken laugh. He lowered the gun for a moment. I saw his hand shake. For a second he looked almost human. Then he raised it again. "You do not get it," he growled. "I had nothing. I was hunted, running every day. I grabbed your life because I needed to. I had nowhere else to go." Before he could say more, an officer lunged. He tackled Alex to the floor. The gun slid across the ground. For one moment, as they held him down, I saw fear in Alex's eyes, real fear, like he finally understood that he had reached the end. The cops cuffed him. He did not fight anymore. He hung his head. His life of lies was over. I stepped closer. My heart is still pounding. I had confronted the man who stole my life. But there was no victory in it. Only emptiness. Alex Michaels was in custody, but I knew my own fight was just beginning. The days after the arrest felt unreal. Alex was tried and convicted fast. The evidence was overwhelming. My name was cleared, but the damage he caused was deep. Years of lies, years of confusion, years of a life that wasn't fully mine. I had to rebuild everything, my identity, my relationships, my sense of self. It would take a long time. But for the first time in months, I felt hope, real hope. Alex took my life away, but in the end, I was the one who got it back. The days after Alex Michaels was arrested felt unreal. Part of me felt relief. The man who stole my identity was finally behind bars. But another part of me felt empty. It was strange. I had wanted this for months. But when it finally happened, I did not know where to begin. People wanted answers, lawyers, detectives, reporters. Everyone asked the same questions. How did this happen? How did I get caught in something so insane? I tried to explain, but how do you explain something that barely makes sense to you? Even when I went back to my normal life, nothing felt normal. My house looked the same. My job was the same. My friends were the same. But I felt like a visitor walking through someone else's world. I kept telling myself I should feel happy, free, but I did not feel free at all. The worst part was facing the people who cared about me. They had watched me disappear for months. Now I was back, trying to act like the same person. But inside, I felt like a stranger wearing my own face. The more I tried to settle back into my life, the more I realized how much of it had slipped away from me. Little things felt unfamiliar. People told me stories I could not remember. I felt like I had been erased. Alex had taken everything that made me who I was and replaced it with his own twisted version. Now I had to rebuild myself from scratch. I started digging through old photos and letters. Anything that could trigger a memory. I found pieces of myself in small moments. A laugh in a picture, a birthday card, a note from my mother, but the memories never stayed. They slipped away as fast as they came. One afternoon, I found an old letter from my childhood friend Ben. We wrote it the summer after high school. Reading it, I finally felt something real. Something that belonged to me, not to Alex, to me. The letter talked about our plans for the future. Traveling, starting a business, living a full life. Those dreams hit me hard. For the first time in a long time, I felt a spark, a reminder that my future had not been stolen, not completely. Weeks passed. Slowly, I tried reconnecting with people. It was awkward. I had been gone in ways I could not explain. I had to earn back trust. I had to show people that I was still me. Ben was the first to really believe it. We talked for hours about everything. Old times, stupid memories, dreams we once had. I apologized for all the confusion. He let me speak, then said something that stuck with me. "You're still you," Ben said. "You went through hell, but you're still the same person." It was simple, but it felt like a lifeline. I knew I was not the same as before, but maybe that was okay. I was still me. I just had to find myself again. Just when I thought things were settling down, strange things began happening. Letters started showing up in my mailbox. No return address, no explanation. The messages were short and confusing, sentences that made no sense, names I did not recognize. They were all signed by someone calling themselves the broker. The letters hinted at a deeper story, something darker, something connected to Alex. They felt like warnings, or threats, I could not tell which. I took them to the police, but they brushed them off. Just leftover drama from Alex's past. They said part of the fallout, nothing to worry about. But I did worry, every time I left the house. I felt like someone was watching me. Every car that slowed down made my heart race. The nightmare was supposed to be over. Instead, it felt like a new one was starting. One evening, something happened that shook me to my core. I was pulling into my driveway when I noticed a man standing on my porch. He wore a dark coat and a hat that covered most of his face. He stood perfectly still, like he had been waiting. I froze, fear hit me like a punch. The man turned his head, just enough for our eyes to meet. His stare was cold and sharp. Then he walked away without a word and vanished into the dark street. I stood there in silence, my heart pounding. Whoever he was, he wanted me to see him. He wanted me to know he was there. Was this the broker, or someone working for him? Either way, I knew the truth. I was not out of danger, not even close. The weeks that followed were heavy with fear. Alex was in prison, but the world he came from was still out there. The letters, the man on my porch, the tension in my gut every time I stepped outside. It all pointed to one truth. This story was not over. It felt like a new hunt had begun. A hunt where I was the target. I wanted to go back to my old life, but that life was gone. The moment Alex stole my identity, something deeper opened up, something I could not run from. I had learned to fight back once, but now the fight felt even bigger, and I had no idea how far I would need to go to take my life back for good. The fear built day after day. Then one night, the phone rang. I answered without thinking. A calm voice spoke. "I know what you have been trying to do." My blood went cold. "Who is this?" "You can call me the broker." My grip tightened on the phone. "What do you want?" He spoke like he already owned the conversation. "Your identity is not stolen. It is created. You were never living your life. You were living ours." I felt the room spin. "What are you talking about?" "You were chosen," he said. "Alex was only the first step. You are the second. Your life was designed for a purpose." Then the line went dead. I stared at the phone in my hand. Shaking, the broker was not just threatening me. He was telling me that my entire life was controlled, built, manufactured, and I had no idea who I really was anymore. A few days later, another package arrived. Another plain box. Inside was a thick folder with documents about me. Not about Alex, about me, my childhood. My school records, pictures, notes about people I knew. Then I realized something terrifying. There were documents about things I had not done yet. Future decisions, future events. A life plan already written out. My name on every page. The name Alex Michaels. My knees went weak. My reality cracked open like glass. I had not been living my own life. I had been following a story someone else created. I was not just a victim. I was a piece of a bigger machine. Every memory, every choice, every step. All of it controlled. The question tore through me. Who was I before they created me? I sat in my living room with the folder in my lap, trying to breathe. Nothing felt real anymore. Then there was a knock at the door. I looked through the peephole and saw Ben. My childhood friend. He looked terrified. I opened the door and he rushed in. "You need to leave," he said, "right now." "What are you talking about?" "That package, it did not come from the broker." His voice shook. "It came from me." My stomach dropped. "Ben, that makes no sense." He grabbed my shoulders. "Listen, the broker is not the one controlling your life. I am." I stared at him, frozen. I wanted to laugh, or scream, or run, but I could not move. Ben looked broken. "You were chosen. Not by them, by me. You were supposed to be part of something bigger. A new system. Alex ruined the plan. I tried to protect you." He ran a hand through his hair and exhaled. "Now you have a choice. You can join us, or you can walk away and deal with everything that follows. But you cannot stay where you are." My heart pounded. My life has been manipulated by strangers, by criminals, by Alex, and now by the person I trusted most. I had no idea who I could trust anymore. I had no idea who I was anymore. But one thing was clear. The story was not over. Not even close.